that somebody's campaign coffers really are struggling right now. So she gonna keep saying trans, 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 so that people will feel threatened. And child, listen, I want y'all to
I am
tell
no
me
child.
whether or
Do
not
call me a child. I am no child.
I want
Don't
to
even
find
start.
out
I am a grown
which
woman.
of those
I am 47 years
emails
old. I have broken
actually
more
have.
glass ceilings than you
Chairman,
ever
I
Order,
am
please.
reclaiming my
Let's go.
time.
You will not do that. I
Order.
am not a
Chairman,
child.
I am
not a
reclaiming
child.
my time.
If you want to take it outside,
Mr.
we can
Chairman,
do
the
that.
committee is not
Okay.
in order.
All right. Order.
Point of order. Point of order.
Order.
I don't think we should be taking the advice from a group of people who can't define what a woman is. You certainly can't define what government efficiency is. So let's just start right there, Mr. Chairman. I support the subcommittee, the creation of the subcommittee on DOJ. I wildly support Marjorie Taylor Greene as the subcommittee chairwoman. And again, to the party who says we don't like or support women, well, guess what? We have two women on this committee who are subcommittee chairwomen who carry gavels. And we're working for the President of the United States, the president who made the first female chief of staff ever in the history of the United States. And I also want to correct the record of the ranking member earlier. There's no Republican up here who has cut Social Security. That is a lie. That is a lie being promulgated by the left, aided and abetted by the mainstream media, and all those liars out there on social media on the left saying that is not true. And when we want to talk about oligarchy, we had Joe Biden, we had Nancy Pelosi, we had Chuck Schumer controlling everything on the Hill in the Capitol for years. And guess what? They've all delivered. They delivered the worst economy in history for Donald Trump. They have delivered more terrorists coming across the southern border than any administration in history. And so this subcommittee is greatly needed, Mr. Chairman. I hope that we all support it unanimously. Ms. Greene, you're going to do a great job as subcommittee chairwoman. I would love to be waved on anytime you let me, because it's time that we stop wasting American taxpayers. It is time that we stop wasting time up here on the Hill. We stop wasting time here in Congress talking about BS. And someone brought up dignity earlier. I would love to see dignity and respect for women up here on the Hill, which is why we should ban men from women's spaces, which is why we should ban men from the locker rooms, from women's locker rooms, which is why we should ban men from women's dressing rooms. I'm done with this. We got to get back to common sense. We got to get back to fighting and working hard for the American people, and we've got to do it together. So you guys can talk all you want on the left side of the aisle. You're not going to be successful because there was a mandate in November, the most historic mandate by Donald John Trump. And the American people want us to get our stuff together. Notice how I'm not cursing today. They want us to get our stuff together and work for the American people. And that starts now. That can start with the DOJ subcommittee. That can start with every committee on the Hill today if we put in the effort and the work to do it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and now yield back.
I'm so glad that we could finally end that nice little propaganda commercial break. Listen, I don't know what Ms. Mace was talking about. I thought we were talking about government efficiency. And the last time that I checked, this committee in the 118th, just like in the 119th, has been governed by the Republicans. Chairman, is it not true that you were the chairman in the 118th? You were. Okay, so the Republicans have controlled this committee. So my question is, why is it that you need to create an entirely new subcommittee when you literally could go through and do whatever work it is that you're talking about handing over to the gentle lady who has never seemingly brought up anything about efficiency? The only thing I recall from the 118th was her spending a lot of time on somebody's junk in this committee. So let me be clear. Y'all had a chance. You chose not to use it. So why should the American people be convinced that now all of a sudden, because you create a new committee that has been promulgated by a real oligarch, you're talking about Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, they were actually duly elected, not somebody sitting there buying Twitter and just happened to be the richest person in the world telling y'all what to do. Let me tell you something. Y'all need to find some people that actually care about their constituents. And honestly, whenever y'all are ready to work, We on this side of the aisle have always been ready to do what is right by the American people. Instead, what you can continue to do is go after the most vulnerable in our country. The fact that you just sat up there and somehow figured out how to tie trans folk to your argument makes no sense to me. But let me tell you something. Trans people ain't going nowhere. Just like when the racists wanted to make sure that black people somehow were going to be dismissed in this country, we ain't left either. This is what's wrong with government. And the idea that we are debating whether or not, just to be clear, and I know that Mr. Gosar, pointed out the fact that he felt as if Mr. Musk has something to contribute. This amendment does not disallow someone from being able to contribute, but it would say that it may be a problem if you are receiving hundreds of millions of dollars from the federal government while at the same time arguing that we need to cut trillions of dollars from our debt. It may say, you know what, you need to divest, something that Democrats have actually been pushing for a while, as we did believe that the now incoming president violated the emoluments clause and that there were conflicts there. Honestly, this is literally about the American people looking at us and knowing that you have no other interest except for to do what's right by this country. And I don't understand what could be more patriotic than deciding that you truly want to make sure that people don't have to trust what you say, but they can believe what you do because they know that you have no other interest. That is all that it is. It is the basic ethics that we are missing from the Supreme Court that has the lowest ratings than it's ever had, because the American people feel as if they are constantly conflicted. Again, as someone who is licensed to practice law in multiple states, one of the things that we have to do is pass a separate ethics test, because this should be about ethics. Why is it that only one side of the aisle seems to care about truth, honor, and honestly what I would consider to be the most patriotic thing that we could do?
On this conflict of interest that we have before us today, I'm hearing about conflict of interest, quote, most basic ethics standards, quote, basic ethics, resources for personal profit, and making sure we're, financial interests are at stake, et cetera. Mr. Chairman, I find it rich that the same members of Congress who defended the Biden crime family, who are making millions of dollars from international business deals while trading on public office, are now here lecturing us today about conflicts of interest. Like they should just sit right back down. They have no room on this issue. I would love to know if they think Nancy Pelosi trading stocks is a conflict of interest. So, if the Biden family, international business dealings, you're trading off the vice presidency and presidency is not a conflict of interest. I would love to know where they stand on that, Mr. Chairman, because this is ridiculous. We need to work for the American people. We need to get to work fast. There was a mandate in November, on November 5th, to push our country forward, to get out of the worst economy in my lifetime that the left forced upon the American people. They can't afford groceries. They can't afford gas. They can definitely not afford child care. And the education system in this country is down the tubes. Taxes are hurting American families on top of it. We have at least 14 million illegals in this country. It's probably far higher than that. We can't keep count. We don't even know where the 300,000 kids are. And so what they have done to destroy the fabric of the United States of America, everything we were founded on, freedom and liberty, the ability to prosper, to work, live, and retire in the greatest nation in the world, they have destroyed that. And it is our job to get back to the basics. And quite frankly, I don't think government efficiency is enough. I think we're going to have to go much further than that. And in fact, look at dismantling entire departments or even agencies, because it's just the bureaucracy we have created with the deep state of bureaucracy here is hurting our country. It's hurting our national security. We're weaker on the world stage. Our economy is going to be a national security issue in very close order. I was hoping that American families would be able to refi with lower interest rates this quarter on their homes and be able to afford housing. Doesn't look like that's going to happen because of what the Biden-Harris administration has done in the run-up to President Trump swearing in on January 20th. This is un-American. It's disgusting. It's gross. Let's move forward. Let's get these votes done this afternoon. Let's get to work for the American people, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, and I yield back.
During the 118th Congress, oversight Republicans disbanded one of the most important subcommittees in Congress, the Subcommittee on Civil Rights and Civil Liberties. And now in the 119th Congress, the chairman and House Republicans have decided to prioritize the demands of the real president, Elon Musk, and his billionaire friends over the needs of the American people. Now, we are about to approach the birthday of Martin Luther King. It's actually tomorrow. And on January 20th will be the inauguration of Donald Trump, but it will also be the observation of MLK Day. And the fact that we have decided that in this country we are not going to honor civil rights should be something that we all take issue with. Considering the fact, for some that don't know what civil rights are about, because some people only believe that it deals with black folk, let me explain. Civil and political rights are a class of rights that protect individuals' freedom from the infringement by governments, social organizations, and private individuals. They ensure one's entitlement to participate in the civil and political life of society and the state. Defined another way, the right to be free from discrimination, the freedom to worship as we choose, the right to vote for our elected representatives, the protections of due process, the right to privacy. If any of that sounds familiar, it is because these are rights that are born out of our Constitution, something that we all supposedly have sworn an oath to, and we swear to not only, we don't just swear to it, we are supposed to protect those rights. Interestingly enough, we just had the funeral of one of our beloved presidents. And I caught a flight to Austin on the day of the funeral. And I had the honor of sitting next to someone who was a little familiar with the White House. That person was Lucy Baines Johnson. And when I tell you that she is a wealth of information, I really mean that. And when we had an opportunity to talk about what she experienced as her father was president during a time in which, honestly, our country was on fire, and I would argue that, unfortunately, our country is on fire right now. When I first ran for office, I ran for the State House and said that we were in the midst of a modern-day civil rights movement, and I have not been convinced otherwise just yet. But this is the daughter of the president that signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964. She was also there when he signed the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And to be perfectly honest, without that voting rights, I don't believe that I actually would have a seat in Congress. And so I do believe in preserving the fact that everyone should be entitled to real and true representation, because I do have a Section 2 seat as our Voting Rights Act has been decimated. But one of the stories that she told me was that her father asked her about coming over to the Congress for the signing of the bill as it relates to the Voting Rights Act. Now, for her, it was a bit inconvenient as an 18-year-old to have to leave the White House and go over to Congress. And she asked her father, why should we go over to the Congress, Daddy, to sign this particular bill? And she said, we need to go over to the Congress because we need to pay due respect to those members of Congress that knew that voting for this bill meant that they would not be returning to Congress, but they had the courage to do what was right for this country and make sure that everyone's voices were going to be heard. The one thing that we could do, the very small thing that we could do, is have a little bit of courage and decide that we are going to reinstitute this particular subcommittee, because unfortunately, I don't see the type of courage that the people that served back in the 60s had coming out of some of our colleagues. And so I'm asking you to do the courageous thing today and just institute a subcommittee that would make sure that we are looking out for those protections of everyone in this country to make sure that we have real freedom, something that we all supposedly espouse to believe in. And with that, I will yield.
Mr. Chairman.
Gentlelady's time's expired. Any member seek recognition?
Yes.
Mr. Higgins? Oh, Ms. Mace was first. I'm sorry. Ms. Mace.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I don't know what's going on today. I find it extremely rich and offensive. So we're talking about civil rights. I'm the former ranking member on the Civil Rights Subcommittee, something I believe in civil rights and civil liberties of all Americans. And we were talking about infringement of individual people. Also, quote, the right to privacy of individuals. Coming from a party that can't define what a woman is and won't give women the right to privacy. You all want men with penises, chicks with dicks, in the bathroom with us. You want women to be forced to undress in front of men in the locker room and in dressing rooms. And it's so hypocritical for you to sit here and say and be, screaming from the rooftops about right to privacy and civil rights when you don't respect women. And you don't respect women who've been raped, women who are victims of sexual abuse. And you want me, a victim of rape, a survivor of rape, to go into a locker room and be forced to undress in front of a man? You have to be effing kidding me. So I don't want to hear about you talk about rights, individual rights, civil rights, because you can't find the courage from the 60s to fight for women all around America. Fight for women like me, every single woman. And as a rape survivor, I shouldn't have to explain to you why women have rights and why women, when we're in the bathroom, when we're in the locker room, when we're in a dressing room, why I don't feel safe when there is a man nearby. And the fact that we're going here and we're going to say all these things is the ripeness of hypocrisy on the Hill. People need to tell the truth. And if we're going to talk about the rights of individuals, we have to talk about it. Everybody has rights, including women. And at some point, men are infringing on the rights of women. We just had it today. We just had a vote about protecting women and girls in sports. And I believe it wasn't one, it was two people from the Democrat Party who voted to protect women's rights in sports today. Two. So this is, Mr. Chairman, this is a deeply offensive conversation to me today. We want to talk about real freedom. Women have freedom in this country. Women have the freedom to go to a private women's only space and not see a man in it. Women have the right to change and not be feared that somebody with their sexual perversion, someone who's confused about their gender, we have the right to feel safe in these spaces. We have the right to know that we're not going to have trans people filming us in the bathroom. How many of these trannies are taking selfies? These men are taking selfies in women's spaces, in the bathroom. It's gross. It's disgusting. So if we're going to talk about civil rights, let's talk about the rights of women in this country and how you are stripping them away every single day. And you're doing it in your legislation, you're doing it in your messaging, you're doing it on X. You're making women feel unsafe in this country. And you're making the opportunity for women and girls to be raped, to be sexually abused in this country even greater than they've ever been. So don't come over here with your attitude and talk to me about rights when you're trying to take my rights as a woman, a survivor, away. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
That somebody's campaign coffers really are struggling right now. So she gonna keep saying trans, so that people will feel threatened. And child, listen, I want y'all to tell me whether or
Do
not.
not call me a child. I am no child.
I want
Don't
to
even
find
start.
out
I am a grown
which
woman.
of those
I am 47 years
emails
old. I have broken
actually
more
have.
glass ceilings than you
Chairman,
ever
I
Order,
am
will.
please.
reclaiming my
Let's go.
time.
You will not do that. I
Order.
am not a child.
I am
not a
reclaiming
child.
my time.
If you want to take it outside, we
Mr.
can
Chairman,
do
the committee is not
Okay.
in order.
All right. Order.
Point of order. Point of order.
Order. Chair recognizes Ms. Crockett.
No, point of order, Mr. Chairman.
State your point.
Is it allowed in the rules for a member to incite violence against another member? I mean, she said she wants to take it outside with.
Hey, I have the
Crockett.
First Amendment right too,
And
young
so
man. I have the
I'd like
First
those
Amendment
words
right.
to be
I'm not
taken
gonna be a
down.
child.
I
I'm
am
not gonna
moving
be
to have
called a
those
child
words
by
taken
any
down.
of
I
you.
believe it's against the rules to
Going
incite
outside doesn't
violence
incite
against
violence.
another
You can have a
member of
conversation
Congress.
that isn't.
The committee will
interrupting this
suspend,
committee.
the member will state the words he wishes taken down.
Where she said that we can take it outside, which is direct violation against the rules, inciting violence against another member.
All right. The chair's going to make a rule. What the gentlelady said was, we can take this outside if you want. And
Okay, so-
that could mean you could go outside and have a cup of coffee or perhaps a beer, or, I mean, we have
Seriously,
Mr.
lots of
Chairman.
conversations outside.
Mr.
So I'm going to rule that it was, just
that it's okay.
that it's okay.
All right, and then point of inquiry.
And remember, this is a slippery slope you're going down, because we have.
Oh, you're
disagreements
going
in
down
this
the slippery
committee, as you
slope.
know.
So just to be clear, in this committee, we can ask, we can
Apparently.
threaten violence on someone as long as
no,
at the
that's
end-
not-
excuse me.
I did
long
not
as at
threaten
the end-
violence.
excuse
I
me,
threatened no
excuse me.
violence.
There was
I
no
threatened no
violence.
violence.
There was no violence.
As long
no
as
violence.
at the
Don't
end.
create a
I
false
threatened
flag.
no
question.
violence.
That was
None.
no other
You're
person.
making shit up as
It's
you
good
go
to know.
along. You
Good
might
to
want
know.
to figure this one out.
Order. There
Mi-
was no
Mr.
I thought you
violence.
were
Chairman.
cursing today.
No violence.